Good afternoon, Russell Geist here with Construction Specialties. With me is Jeffrey Blake, and we are going to do a demonstration of an installation of a dual combination louver. When I say dual combination, I mean two louvers together. Typically, that is a front horizontal louver and a rear vertical louver. This installation can also apply to our Perform series louvers that have a perforated sheet on the front of a louver. The big difference between these and all the others, horizontal or vertical blade louvers, is for the most part, all of the louvers are going to have clip angles on all four sides of the opening. So as opposed to maybe horizontal's only going to be at the jambs, or the verticals are only going to be at the head and the sill. This one's going to have all four sides. So the first thing we got to do when we're installing a louver is put a sill pan in. Let's bring it over here. What we end up doing with these is you're going to end up running a couple beads of silicone along the bottom of the opening, and usually one right up front and then another one a little farther back. All depends on how deep your sill pan is. So you're going to you've done the silicone, you put the sill pan in, and then you're going to, as long as it's nice and flush to the front, you're going to smash that sill pan in to smooth that, to kind of like smush out all of that silicone so it gets a good adhesion to the opening material as well as the underside of your sill pan itself. I also recommend that you run a bead of silicone along the top of our sill pan here, and that's so that if any voids in the silicone sealant that you're going to use to seal the louver into the opening aren't 100%, that any water that can get in alongside that gap, it's going to run down your substrate or maybe the louver jamb, and it's going to come over that and into the sill pan. We don't want water going in between the sill pan and this structure here. So by sealing that, you'll get a much better chance of the water just going right into it, and the sill pan gets to do what it's designed to do. So next thing on this particular model here, if you look at the back of it, it's got a rear mullion on it. This particular model, an RS5215 or any of the similar ones, RS5216, 5225, 5226, all of them essentially have that rear unit and then a front horizontal unit. The way we manufacture them though is that you're going to end up we're going to ship out an assembled unit with at least one mullion on, internal mullion, I'm going to call it. And that's only the rear louver has the mullion. You don't really see it on the front. If you turn it around, the blades look nice and continuous across the front of it. So that's what we're trying to do, is we're supporting the blade with that rear mullion, but shipping it out into larger sections so you don't get a bunch of 1.5 or 2 foot wide sections and you got to put them all together in the field. So typically that's how these models are going to go. The Perform louvers are going to be, they're not going to have that rear mullion on it, but that rear mullion is what needs to get clipped off because we have a lot of the load from the blade going to that. So what we end up doing is we're going to mark the location of that mullion and where that particular clip angle is going to fall. When you do that, you're going to want to measure whatever that component is. So that's the sill of the louver that we're talking about. So you're going to want to measure that depth, mark it in the sill pan, and then put a clip angle where it needs to be. Once you do that, then you're going to drill that hole, and then you're going to grab the clip angle for that. And before you put the clip angle in, I want you to go around that hole and put a bed of silicone on there. And then you're going to take that clip angle, you're going to mount it through that hole, and you're going to smush that silicone in between the clip angle and the sill pan itself. If the substrate below is not something that's hollow, I'd suggest even shooting some silicone in the hole itself. We don't want to get water coming through the sill pan down through that hole and into the building below, or into the substrate, or whatever that is. So aside from that smushing the clip angle into that bed of sealant, when the clip angle and the fastener are nice and tight, I want you to go around the clip angle where the clip angle meets up with that sill pan, and I want you to seal that perimeter also. And then the last step is to seal the fastener head itself going through the clip angle, so that any possible path of air and water to migrate through the fastener, the hole around the clip angle, we've now sealed all of that. So we're gonna pause right now. We're gonna go and turn this around, and we're gonna show you how we install some clip angles on the jams. So we're looking at the back of the louver opening now. We put the sill pan in. We've put the clip angle that goes through the sill pan. We've sealed all of that up. But if you notice, we've added that same clip angle, but at the head condition. And then we've also installed a couple clip angles at the jams. In this orientation, we call that the normal orientation as opposed to a reverse install. So if you look at this one here, a reverse install would be like that. And so what that does is, if you've got a substrate that has certain edge distances, like concrete is a good example, or wood, that you need to have those fasteners more towards the center of the substrate, so it may end up falling to where it's in that same space that the louver exists. So we're gonna go ahead, install these clip angles in the normal orientation. Again, all of these things, we always do a flat. If you're doing a bolted connection on the threaded side, you want to have a flat washer, a lock washer, and then the nut. You never want to just do a flat washer and the nut without that lock washer. That lock washer is going to make sure that this thing never comes undone through the life of it. So right now we just kind of have those hand tightened. Let's go back and tighten that at the end of this. So the next step, we're going to take some horseshoe shims, and we're going to shim under the louver sill towards the back where that louver, the back of the louver sill is going to rest. You want to do that because if it's in the front, you may end up, it might not support it the way you want to. A lot of times also you want to leave the shim in as a permanent shim, so that even gravity over time doesn't let the louver drop at all, the weight of the louver. So we're going to put those in. And the nice thing with the clip angle installed ahead of time on the sill is I have a nice flat surface to put that shim right up against. And it's not going to move on me at all. So now we're going to go ahead and lift that louver into place. No, wait, back. All right, go. Yep. And the nice thing with having all these clip angles installed already is now the louver can't go farther back than what it's supposed to be. When you're doing this, if I didn't mention it before, you're going to want to measure the depth of the louver. We did say it on the sill. We didn't mention it for the jams or the head, but all of those are different planes. So you want to make sure to measure each one and make sure that you're marking that right plane relative to those components of the louver. So we've got the louver in place. It's flush on the backside. Jeff is holding it there. And now all we need to do is go in and just start landing all these screws. So it's always good to do, one maybe on each side or so to get it just right. And then you go back and you land all the other ones. And now, what I didn't mention is the sill of the sill pan. It's got these two little holes in here because there's going to be instances where you just physically can't get in here to mount those screws. And it doesn't make sense to mount the clip angle to the louver first to overcome that obstacle. because we've put that, we have that penetration through the sill pan, we need to do all of that sealing, and that has to happen before the louver gets installed. So it's that whole order of operations that you got to be mindful of, and if you can get into certain areas. Another time that you're not going to be able to get in here is if you have an insulated blank off panel on the back of these louvers. If right now we only have about a 2-inch gap here. Even if the insulated blank off was only an inch, you're not getting into that little space here to get into those. So you'll end up wanting to, once you got the louver in place, the clip angle installed, you're going to want to drill some clearance holes, and the size of these just needs to clear the size of your driver that you're using. That's what's going to dictate it. When you're all done, you're going to come back and you're going to put a bed of sealant around the hole or holes, however many times they exist on that louver. And then obviously after you've driven the screws, you put the silicone on, and then you're gonna put a plate over it and seal that to it. And then I would recommend going around the perimeter of that plate with another line of sealant. So I'll show you right now quickly, just going through these holes to attach the clip angle at the sill into the louver sill itself. And here we go. All right, now we go finish fastening the rest of the holes here. All right, now if you want, you can go back again and just kind of like go back and tighten all of these up. All right, so always a good thing to go back and double check that you've gotten everything nice and tight. So you've done that and you're done with that. And again, you can leave the horseshoe shims in place. Those, since they're on the back side, they're not going to do any harm by leaving them in place. Now the only thing left to do is to finish up the install, and we're not actually going to do it, but kind of just talk about sealing the louver from the base of the louver. Back to the front of the louver here, just a couple last minute housekeeping items. Whether it's you as the installer or if there's a subcontractor on the whole job that's in charge of all the sealant, they're gonna come in and they're gonna put backer bar jams in the head and then seal it with silicone. What we don't recommend doing is sealing the louver sill to the sill pan itself. What happens is, if you close that off with silicone, the sill pan, it's catching water, but it's not letting it drain out. So it's just gonna ferment back there and cause problems inside the building. So if you absolutely have to seal the louver sill to sill pan, we highly recommend that you put weeps in it. And whether that's open or you have some kind of an open cell membrane also as part of that weep, we need you to do that. The frequency of that will work out in shop drawings. Typically, I think it's about 12 inches on center. So again, with this particular style of model, the dual combination, it's got that recessed mullion. If you've got a longer expanse of these, say 50 feet wide, you may end up having visible mullions of it, something more like that in it than you will on this one here. But ideally, when we send a unit out shop assembled, it will have on the 5215 or 15, 16, 25, 26, all of them will at least have a more continuous look here at the middle of a section. When sections come together, that's where it gets a little iffy of what you're gonna see. So that concludes the installation of a dual combination or our Perform louvers. Thank you for your time.